Hello everyone and welcome back. Today I'm going to film my June Yes, June mid-month wrap-up. The reason I'm doing this is because it is basically halfway through the month and I have read 3 books so far this month and a poetry collection. So just in case I end up going this way for the other half of the month, I want to make sure that my end of the month wrap-up isn't super long. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the books. The first book that I'm going to speak about is My Dark Vanessa. This is a proof copy. This book doesn't come out until January 2020, but I highly advise you put it on your TBR because this book is brilliant. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars and I am blown away by how much I loved it. And I don't want to even say that I love the book because it's a weird book to love. Not even weird, but once I start speaking about it, you'll understand why. So My Dark Vanessa is the story of Vanessa, and this book is told in 2 parts essentially. So we flip back to the time when Vanessa was 15, and then we go back, or we come to present day where she's sort of going through the motions of what has happened to her, and it's sort of placing the book in the contemporary time of the Me Too movement and everything that's happening then. So if we start from when she was about 15, it's essentially the story of how her teacher groomed her. And I don't know if in this situation, because I don't read a lot of books that are focused around this sort of topic, I don't know if in this situation it's, you know, the standard scenario that happens, but I thought it was just beautifully done in the sense that she was quite a lonely girl. You know, she started joining this English club and that's how she sort of got closer to him, but she was completely taken unaware. This wasn't something that she sought out. He, like I said in the beginning, he groomed her and got her to a place where he wanted her to be. And it's very difficult to read parts of this book because, you know, it obviously deals with sexual assault, it deals with what I would class as rape, but I guess what this book is meant to do is sort of blur those lines, because if it's consensual, is it rape? You sort of have to question that, but then you clearly know she's underage, so you're like, this is clearly rape. And even in that scene where she's talking about the fact that she lost her virginity, you're just reading it like this is rape. But I guess what I like about this book is because you already know what the overall arching plot is. Me talking about the fact that, you know, there's consensual sex or anything to do with that isn't a spoiler. The story isn't plot heavy in that sense. The book is dealing with what it is to be a victim, and telling you the story of how it came to be of her grooming. So nothing is spoilers in this book for once. So yes, we're dealing with the fact that she's 15. So many different things go on in terms of the grooming and things to do with the school, how the school handles things, how her parents handles things, and you can see how bit by bit it all led to this sort of moment and the experience that she had at her school. And some of it is really spectacular. You're just sort of like, how does a school behave like this? How does an organisation behave like this? But then I think as a society, we already know that most organisations will cover up a lot of things. So anyway, so we're talking about 15-year-old Vanessa, then 16-year-old Vanessa, 17, 18, and then we also are dealing with the present day Vanessa, in which it's been found out that, you know, she's not the only one that this has happened to. You quickly find out in the first page there has been this outing of him by another girl, and she is very vocal and public about it. And I guess what this book is trying to do is deal with the fact that Vanessa herself is a victim, didn't realise that she was a victim, and in her head all of this was very consensual. So as she's explaining the story back to people, or to us, the reader, and as she is explaining to people in her past, they're all like, this is so fucked up, like what he did was so fucked up. But in her head, as a 15-year-old girl who has now grown into a woman, she can't seem to see herself as a victim, and therefore she doesn't really understand women who didn't go through the same experience as her with this teacher, are therefore calling him out. And you can see that she's clearly a victim. She's someone who's very in love with her teacher, whereas you've got the other side, people who fell like victim to him, who actually realised clearly there was something really wrong. It's such a nuanced book because there are so many things to unravel. You can tackle the things to do with how the school dealt with it, how teachers around with her dealt with it, how her parents dealt with it, those sorts of little things, as well as the fact that she, as she's grown older, she hasn't fully adjusted to society, she hasn't sort of fully adjusted to normal relationships. But I think the final thing that this book left me with was that thought of the victims who are, not even the victims who are left behind, but the victims who, I guess, never sort of report what was happening to them, never speak on it. What like, what does it feel like for them? People who didn't even realise they were victims, and now they're sort of having to learn and deal with that in their adult life. There's also parts to do with journalism and journalists wanting to tell the story and how sometimes those stories can go left. I think it manages to encapsulate a lot of food for thought, and very much places it in contemporary times, which I think is excellent. It makes it so much more, I guess, relevant and thought-provoking. I completely love this book, if you couldn't tell. Someone recommended it to me and I thought, oh, that doesn't really sound like it's up my street, and then I ended up completely loving it. So I definitely recommend that when it comes out, you buy it, pre-order it, whatever, just grab this book so that we can talk about it. The next book I'm going to speak about is actually a poetry collection, and this is Learning Rhythm by Kwabena Foley. I love this. Look at the front cover, look at the back cover. It's just very beautiful. So like I said, this is a poetry collection, and if you've watched my channel for a while, we know that I like these short, punchy sort of poems, you know, Rupi Kaur kind of style and things like that. This poetry collection was actually quite good. I thought it was okay. I liked it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 if I recall. It had some really good poetry in there that I really liked, but overall I did find myself looking through the whole collection like, yeah, okay, I've read something like this before, I've read something like this before, but there were just loads of lines in there that I think were really punchy and really powerful. So overall, what I'd say this poetry collection is about love. It's about making love. It's about what it's like to be a black man in America. Yes, those are the topics I think it definitely covers. It's also just a bit of self-help as well. It kind of reminds me of Bone by Yusuf Daily Ward. It's got that same sort of vibe to it as well. Other than that, I can't really say much more about it. It was a pleasurable read. I enjoyed it. I definitely read it again, and I think the cover is stunning. You can tell what the title of the book is just by the spine here, which I think is just really nicely done. The next book I'm going to speak about is one that I got through NetGalley, which is called Almost Adults. I can't remember the name of the author now. It's Ali something. I absolutely love the front cover of this book. I think it's absolutely beautiful. But I didn't end up enjoying this book. I gave this book a 2 out of 5 stars, and this book is centred around 4 girls who live in a place called Hackton. I don't even know if this place is real. It could very well be, and I'm being so bloody ignorant. But the way it's written in the book is about an hour away from London. I thought it sounded more like Southend-on-Sea, but I could be very wrong. The story opens with one of the characters' boyfriends breaking up with her, and then sort of how her life spirals out of control. It was like a 7-year relationship, and you know, they were very much used to living together. I'm pretty sure all her friends are like 25, 27, so it's not like 7 years and she was 30 or something. 7 years from when she was at university. It's very heartbreaking. So we're dealing with her, and we have our other characters. So I think her name is Nat. We have our other characters, Adele? So it's Adele, but with an E. Who is the unemployed one, who seems to have her shit together apart from the fact that she's unemployed and does some questionable things, but she was by far my most favourite character. There was a character called Mackie, I think that was her name. I guess most well-adjusted character, and then there was another character who, Alex, that was it. Again, another character that was in a long-term relationship, still is, but something different happens in her relationship. Essentially what happens is we follow these 4 girls as they are they're 4 best friends. You know, they do everything together, they're there for each other all the time, and there are different things happening in their lives. That is the story. The reason why I guess I didn't like the story was because I felt like it was trying to be something that we've already read 100 times. So Alex, because of the breakup of her friend Nat, starts to question her relationship a little bit, and starts to question whether she's tired of that sort of stability and regularity of her relationship. And then her boyfriend starts acting odd, and you think, oh, like, is he cheating on her too? But obviously you kind of know he's not. You know what's coming in that sense of the story. And then you have Adele, who I liked the most, because she was basically someone who was clearly struggling with what she wanted to do career-wise. She got fired from her job because she basically turned up late all the time, and they fired her. Fair enough. She was funny because I found like she was probably the most, like, I guess, relatable, and not the one that was so down in the dumps or boring either. I felt like there was a lot of, I guess, care or character development put into her, because I felt like by the end of the book she was someone who had learned a lot, definitely, from what had been going on in her life, but was still super supportive of all her friends. Like, she was brilliant. And then there was another character, Mackie, who, she was the solid one in the group. She had a good job, she was at her career, but now she was looking to boost her career, and she ends up moving away to London. So essentially what she's trying to do is plant scenarios within the group, so that they're all dealing with different things, but really showing that as a group of 4 friends, they're really there for each other, and they're all, you know, life might be shit and they might not be able to do loads of adult things, but they're all there for each other, and that's all that matters. Which is grand and great, but I really didn't see what the point in any of that was. I was just like, this could be a book about something else, and you weave the friendship element into it. And also, like, I felt like the story was trying to make up this whole thing of 4 friends that do everything together, you know, that go out on the piss together and all the time. So much, it was like reinforcing it so much that it became so cliche, and it's just like, we get it, they're really good friends, they're great friends, they're friends who become family. Like, that's usually what happens in life, you know. So I didn't enjoy the book. I just felt, I got halfway through and I was a bit like, I hope something better is going to happen. And then I got to like 75% and I was honestly just flicking through the book, like just pressing the next page, because you didn't need to have read every single word on the page to get a sense of what was going on. The story was very predictable as it went along as to what was going to happen. So it was just like, yeah, okay. So that's why I didn't enjoy it. I felt really bad, but I didn't like it, but I loved the cover, so that was fun. The final book I'm going to speak about is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I spoke about this in my most recent video. I swear I kept calling it something else, but I kept calling it Ariel. But yes, I finally finished it. So happy about that. I talked about how I was having difficulty finishing this, but then I thought, oh, actually I'll get around to it. And I did, and I really, really enjoyed this book. I think as I got to the second half, I was a bit more like into it, because it had more of the plot, rather than it just being the ramblings of our main character Esther and her boring days. It was more like she was somewhere where things were happening, and therefore I found it much more enjoyable. The Bell Jar, if you don't know, is Sylvia Plath's only novel. It's essentially very loosely based on her life. Our main character Esther is working in publishing. I think she actually really wants to write. When her plans fall through of going to a summer school, she essentially just gets really depressed about what she's going to do with the rest of her life, I guess over the summer really. And while she's been at this sort of publishing school, or this course for women, it becomes very apparent that, you know, this is just something that women are doing to pass their time before they go on and marry men and I guess stay at home or do other things that they don't really want to do, but it helps them pass the time. And Esther is not satisfied with that. So upon finishing that, and her mum tells her she didn't get into the course, she goes back home and just basically slips into a huge depressive episode. Starts seeing a psychiatrist, he subsequently gets worse, and is essentially moved to an asylum. That's what they call it there. I know that's not what we call it now. And it's just basically about her days there and her treatment there and other people she meets there and what she decides to do with her life and her recovery. It's nothing spectacular, especially because this book was written, well, it was published in 1963, so it was probably written about that time or just a bit before that. So I wouldn't say there was anything spectacular there in terms of what was happening, but it was just more an interesting study on the things that she did and what life was like for her. I actually ended up really enjoying this, so because I was having difficulty, I guess, getting back into it, I just started from where I left off. There was no way I was going to read the beginning again because I found the beginning incredibly boring. But I enjoyed like hearing about the other people that were in the asylum and just the different things that happened. And it also just kind of shocks you that this is how they treated people with mental health difficulties. Like, I know electroshock therapy is still something that is done today and it's done very differently. That was just really scary to read about. And because this is obviously a fictional book, it's, you know, not done as heavy, but I can imagine like the women going through that were probably scared like shitless. Like, it doesn't sound like a pleasant thing to go through. I really enjoyed this book overall and I'm glad I gave it another go. But that is all from me today. So those are the books that I have read so far this month. I am now reading Dark Eden to help me with my sci-fi reading. That very well might be the only book I get through for the rest of this month because it is a slow read for me. I read like 30 pages yesterday and I was like, I don't know about this one, but we shall see. But until then, I will see you in my next video. Let me know if you have any thoughts on the books that I have read, or if you would like to hear more about any of them. I'm particularly interested in talking about my Dark Vanessa. But I will see you in another video. Bye!